Okay then. This is basically, if anyone's got any questions, I've left some time at the end to answer questions, and anything that goes over next week. Feel free to ask me questions during the next week. Right, okay. Those who don't know me, quick background, in case I'm a student. I've made a couple of websites. Got so many small businesses moving copies that I've got a couple of big websites myself. BBM.co.net generates QR codes with BBM messenger and that gets quite a lot of hits. And then we've got helvetichome.com, which is probably so that's about 7.6k a month average so far. So, and that gets a fair bit of views. So server-wise, PHP-wise, HTML, CSS-wise, and get I can probably go into more questions. We'll get on to the first question, which was session versus cookies. Right. Everyone, most people have to know about this. Right, okay. And the easiest way to sum it up is in the table. So a cookie is secure absolutely no way. If I was a user, I can edit a cookie if I want to. It's really easy. You can do it within the browser. Most browsers have the ability to edit a cookie. And you also get the user is able to block a cookie. So things like IE probably haven't blocked by default. And I'm guessing you wouldn't want that if you've got a shopping cart and you've got a person buying £1,000 worth of items. They go to add it and they can't because their cookies are blocked and they don't know how to unblock them. Whereas a session, as far as I'm aware, as far as I'm aware, you can't block a session because it's stored on the server. There's a small file that's stored on the client side, but I don't think they can clear it because I think when you close the browser, that's when the session is terminated on the client side. There's a small bug. Say small, it's actually quite big. Can everyone see this bit? The solution. I noticed I went on a couple of people's websites and they were getting this error at the top. You don't need to read it. Basically, it says that the actual thing is error. It hasn't even got a code. It's just permission denied to your file name, and it can't write the session. And that's because for some reason I did some googling and I tended to see a trend in people saying that it's because the folder, where it saves the session on the server is full. So for all your assignments, if you're getting this problem, create a folder at the root of your M directory, call it whatever you want. I call mine TMP because that's what it is on the normal server. And just before you initialize any session, put session save path and then the path name to your TMP folder. That will then remove the error and it saves the session to that folder. So then you don't get any error saying it's full. I don't know why it's showing that it's full. I'm guessing that IS have probably done something to stop people hammering it. But I mean, feel free to get off the site. Email me if you want me to email it. Next, we've got separating the PHP from the HTML. Someone emailed us to me and can't really do it on it. But the examples at the top and the URL at the top. And here I've got a file on the left-hand side, PHP file, called functions.php. And in this file, I literally just start opening my PHP file, and then I've got function hello world and an echo hello world. That's it. And then in the HTML file, I'm including the functions.php at the top. Now what that does is it pulls in anything that's in functions.php. So anything that's in that functions.php is now accessible as if it was written in the HTML file. So in the you can see the container bit, I've got the PHP graphics and then hello world. And what that calls is it just displays it as if you've typed it, like a normal echo, as if you've typed it in the HTML file at the top. So almost think of it as not so much like classes and object orientation, but it's literally just taking one file and moving it into the other. It's quite clunky if you want a massive file to be pulled in, but it's quite good for things like for the assignment I've got all my database settings in a settings.php file, and then in all of my PHP files after that, they need to connect to the database. I literally just include it in. And that way, if I need to change the settings to the server, I just need to change it in one file. No, they have to be .php extensions because you've still got the PHP calling and you've got the PHP function being called halfway through. So you still need .php extensions. You just don't need to write whatever you're calling in over and over and over again. Is that clear for everyone? Is there any other questions on that? Form side of that. Well, that's just a mess, isn't it? Well, what I've got here is I've split it into radio buttons, checkboxes, and a checkbox array, which is a little sneaky tip that I thought I'd tell you, and hidden forms. Does everyone know what the difference between the three are, apart from the name? I'll explain. Basically, radio buttons can only one radio button can be checked at a time. So you could have 50, but if a user can only tick one. So it's like on and off, stuff like that. Checkboxes, you can tick as many as you like for a while. The checkbox array, you can't see necessarily there. But then you've got the hidden input here, and the hidden input is invisible to the user. So you can store information in it, maybe a reference ID to a certain game or anything really, anything you can store in it that you don't want the user to necessarily change. You just want it to be there as a help. So when you submit, this is what I would have typed in on the website, and these are the headers that I get. So text name is what I called, you can just about see it on the input, of text at the top. The text name I typed in 00. Radio name, I only check the first one because I can't check the second one. Check name, I check both, and the hidden displays obviously what I've entered in and what I want the user, what I want to be submitted. So, that is what is accessed by the post. I don't know if Adrian explained that all right, but that is what is actually, the headers that are sent are what are accessed by post. So here you've got the header sent, so this is in a hidden field, just so to explain more so how you would access stuff in a hidden field. So your header sent, with your hidden name comes from the name of the input, and the data on the right hand side is from the value. So within things like checkboxes and things like that, you've always got a value attribute. So that can be changed, and that's what's sent. Whereas in the text box, you don't have, you can have a value attribute that pre-fills the input box for the user. You don't often want that though. But the value from a text box is whatever the user types. So that's like you used to use value in a text box for things like a placeholder in a name, say email, just because you want the user to type an email, and use JavaScript to wipe the box when the user clicks on it. But now in HTML5 there's actually an attribute called placeholder, which the browser knows you want to wipe when you click on it. But I'll try not to touch HTML5. Right, little quick tip. I'll put this may help you in a certain assignment. If you, in your name, if you put square brackets at the end, as if it's an array, you can actually access that header as an array in your PHP. So when the headers are sent, as if they're two, it's not sent necessarily looking like an array. It's just literally two square boxes at the end, and it looks like you've sent two normal headers. In the PHP, you access it like a normal header, but without the square brackets. So this actually, from this, you can't actually tell whether it's an array or just a normal header. But you can put it in a for each loop. So with this with this checkbox name, you stick it, does everyone know how for each loop works? You stick that in a for each loop, and here I'm just echoing each value, and that's what I'll get. So things like adding games to a car, if you add it to an array, you don't need to get each header, bundle them all up, put them in an array, just send it as an array, and then treat it in PHP as if it's just a normal array that you've bundled together yourself. It saves you quite a lot of code, and has anyone got any questions about that? Right, sticky footers. Someone sent me an email about sticky footers. I couldn't write a better sticky footer than this website. Have you seen this website? cssStickyfooters.com. That website, I knew about it, and I was going to write a sticky footer, and then I remembered this website, and this website includes things like cross-browser sticky footers for things like Opera, where a normal sticky footer wouldn't necessarily work on you. For anyone who doesn't know what a sticky footer is, there is a diagram there. You can't see the content box, but you've got your content. When you're scrolling, sticky footers off the page. Your footer's off the page as if it's at the bottom of the content. When you scroll up and the content rises up past the up to the, you see where content is. Say it goes up to there. You've actually got a space where there's no content, and if you want the footer to be at the bottom of the page still, usually the obvious way to do it is to set it so it's fixed to the bottom of the screen. But then when there is content, it'll still be there, so it'll be overlapping content. So what a sticky footer does is it keeps it stuck to the bottom when there's no content, instead of it following the content up with it. And that's what cssStickyfooter.com does. And they've got pretty, like their website is the sticky footer. Excellent. Right. Does anyone want me to read them out, or can you see? Can you see? I'll give you 2 seconds to read the first one. First one's the left one. Everyone get that? Basically, the problem is when you go to the game store, I'm presuming it works, and then you go back to the home page, and it just doesn't take you back to the game. I'm guessing that's because you haven't initialized the variable again. Initialize the session. So whenever you've got a session, you need to start it. Otherwise, you've got that. You stumped me now. That's the only thing that I can think. I probably need to see your code. You've got it in an if statement, and you've got if. Have you got is set? Right, you need to, you want exclamation mark, is set, function, and then put your session in that. And what that does is it checks for the session. Solved it. I'm hoping anyway. It's alright. Right, this question, I wasn't really too sure. One, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning and my head was mashed. And I couldn't really think of an easy way to do it. So the way that I thought of it is quite complicated, and it might not work. Just a little disclaimer there. I guess is it? Yeah. Basically, the way that I thought, like, you're trying to get the quantities and associate, like when you send them, it attaches into the right game. Yeah. Well, basically, what I've done is you've got your normal text input box. So you type in whatever number you want, and it inputs it into a quantity array, what we were talking about before, and submits that in the header. But then directly underneath it, you'll have a hidden input box with the reference name of the game, or the reference number, sorry, of the game. So what I've done here is value$ref. Basically, in your PHP, when you echo out your table, echo out an input, hidden input, and then set the value to the reference number of that game, and then they should theoretically go into the array in the same order that they're displayed. Does that make sense? So your two arrays will match up, and then in the PHP, say you want the quantity of the first game that's in the array, you go, okay, in array 1, check array 1 in quantity, and like match the two up. I think it's probably a lot easier ways to do it. But that's the only way I could think of last night, and I was thinking of today. I haven't managed to think of anything else, but if I do, I'll let you know. But as far as I know, that would work, maybe. I'm not too sure though. And that's pretty much it, questions-wise. Is there any other questions that you want to answer on the slide? Stick photo, yeah. You can. I'm presuming you just don't set the width to 100%. So because in the CSS, the reason why it was all across is the width is set to 100%. So I'm guessing you can set it to the width to whatever you want, and it still have the same effect, because the width shouldn't affect the positioning of the footer. It'll just be literally yeah. It shouldn't affect it. Any other questions? The way you do that is like, if I close this, cool. And I go header, location, and then say you want it to go back to index.php, like that. And then what that will do is it sends the user, so you like that's like the if statement with the session. What he's doing is it's checking to see if the session variable is set, and if it's not, it takes you back to that page. That's the only way you can do it in PHP, but it works. Any other questions? Yeah. Is that \n? Right. Okay. To be honest, I don't know if this will confuse people, but what you can do is insert text or strings into a variable, and then keep it adding stuff, and it adds the new lines every time. You don't need to add \n. For example, the way that I do it is display equals, and then further down the line I'll have my if statement, while statement in the database, and then in here I'll put $display type dot equals, and what that dot does is concatenates it onto the previous thing, but on a new line. So $display whatever you're getting from the thing, and what that will do is whilst it's going around, it'll keep concatenating every single thing onto the thing. So you can have a string in there. You could have hello, I'm $variable, and then what that will return is when you echo $display, you'll have hello, I'm like that, etc. And it just literally adds it to the thing, and it's the easiest way to, instead of having to echo \n, echo \n, you just add it to one big variable and then echo it out. It's so easy, so easy. But is that confused people? Good. I thought that was working. I thought that might confuse, but you can do that. Any other questions? Yeah, your session has got to go at the top. Anything that is at the top before the head of the HTML in PHP is accessible throughout the whole file. So, like when we were including functions.php in, if you include the functions.php, everything within that HTML, I call it HTML file, it's still not PHP extension, but when you access stuff, that's accessible, anything that's top accessible throughout the whole thing. Say like you're setting a variable at the top of a HTML file, and you set it, you can access it anywhere through the file, but if say you set it halfway through the file, you can't access it, I don't think. Yeah. In other pages you can't cross access. So that's why things like including a file with things like database and stuff like that is quite good. Because you literally it's almost like you're typing it. It treats it as if you're typing it on every single page, but you're only typing it once and just including it. Any questions? Yeah, the shopping basket dragged my head for a bit. I've not done much with shopping baskets, and it did try me out. The way I did it was I add. Where are you thinking about multiple times going to the shopping basket, or just literally once? Because the way that mine works is, if you check a box and add to basket, you can then go back into the games list and add more to the basket. The way what I do is I take the session variable, store it in a session, the basket that you selected, stores it in the session, and then if you go back in, it takes it, sends it to the PHP file, and checks to see if you've got that session already, and if you have, concatenates the two together. It merges it back into one session. So it blagged my head for a while, but and it worked. There's a couple of functions that allow you to merge arrays. So what I basically did was took the session, say it's called session checkout. Session checkout equals merge array, session checkout, and then whatever your post is feeding in, which was a header array, like I showed you before, and then literally merged the two together, and then that then became one. So then you could literally go through, keep going back until you have a shopping cart size of customers. Anything else? Sweet. Nice one. Well, if anyone's got any questions that they just think that they want to know for next week, I mean, I've got here next week. Email me, drop me an email, or if anyone else, say you know anyone else, feel free, drop me an email, and I'll try and get some decent slides up for next week. Cheers for coming. It's alright.